Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Rink-Side with Hits and Clips.
He's got the hits, I've
You
got the
got the
clips,
clips.
and we're
We
ringside.
we're Rink-Side.
All
Well, let's start with the news that broke out of the WHL.
right.
A lot of fans might not be aware, but in the Canadian Hockey League, you have three leagues: the Ontario Hockey League, the Western Hockey League, and the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League.
That's right.
And in the Western Hockey League this week, there was an expansion to not one, but two franchises. One of them starting in the fall, and the next one starting in 2 seasons from now.
Right. You have the announcement that the Penticton V's will be
Penticton
joining the
V's.
WHL next season.
Yes.
And then you have the announcement that an application for expansion to Chilliwack has
Chilliwack,
been
British Columbia.
accepted, and we'll wait to see what exactly they announce that franchise as.
That's right. And do you think with the relocation and expansion of the WHL, do you think we might start to see some more in the OHL?
Um, That'll be a tough one. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because they're having trouble now already. And I feel like in the WHL, they have some markets where they can go. Whereas in
Mhm.
the OHL, I don't know if there's many markets left. Like, what are they going to do with Brampton Steelheads? Okay, so they send
Yeah.
them down to Cornwall. Then if you start looking around the province, where do you send other franchises to? There's not a bunch of those. I guess you would call them like second tier cities left in the province that doesn't really have a team, unless you want to talk about putting
Right.
one like in Thunder Bay. But in
Yeah.
theory, they're closer to Winnipeg than they are
Yes.
to any other team in Ontario.
Is
So
that's right. And
that
plus,
that gets interesting. But
and I mean, there's been smaller markets like Cornwall who's been interested,
yes,
and St. Thomas.
St. Thomas, that would be interesting.
Hmm.
I do think you might start to see more of that. Like they might say,
Hmm.
well, we can put a team in, let's say, St. Thomas or somewhere smaller,
Hmm.
and then their hope is that they can get the surrounding area to come out and like cheer on the team versus having to go in a, say, like more city type of place.
Because St. Thomas is much more closer to London,
Right.
where Cornwall on the other side, it's half and half between Kingston and Ottawa.
That's right.
So
That's right.
you're kind of like you said, building around that area.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
They have to find a way to make it more successful in the GTA.
Yes, they do.
Um, they've got a system in Oshawa that works
Oh,
fantastic.
yes.
Oshawa has got that solved, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with the Brampton Steelheads.
Steelheads.
And it looks like they've now got it under control with the Brantford Bulldogs,
They
which used to be
do.
Hamilton Bulldogs, which didn't seem to totally pan out per se. So now they've got in Brantford, and it looks like they're going to be all right there.
Yep.
Um, but what do you do with like do you do a Markham or do you just totally
Hmm.
leave the GTA altogether and stick with like Oshawa and Brantford and those are your two teams in the Toronto area and you
Hmm.
just totally abandon the rest of it?
Yeah.
Or do you look at, I mean, you already have the Niagara Ice Dogs, so it's not even really that good of an idea to look at like St. Catharines because I think they already do play at a
They
St.
play out of
Catharines.
St. Catharines already.
Right, so that doesn't really work.
Yeah, and I mean, what I've been hearing too of rumors is that Niagara Falls, USA has been interested in building a facility on the other side of the border, where Burlington
Oh.
is apparently also building a state-of-the-art facility, OHL standard, right
Oh.
beside the GO station.
That would be interesting. Burlington in particular,
Hmm.
close to Brantford, and it's not Mississauga and it's not Brampton. So
It could work.
maybe it could work. They definitely would have the population in that area to support it. That's not a concern.
Yeah.
I just don't know if, again, too many people are very Toronto centric sports fans, and it's like, oh, if it's not the Maple
Hmm.
Leafs and it's not the Raptors and it's not the Raptors 905, then,
Hmm.
it's too convoluted.
Right.
But yeah, that could work being in Burlington. And then the Niagara Falls, USA one. I don't know if it's the right time to put any more expansion markets in the US
I
at the
don't think
moment.
so.
I don't know, but I mean, I would be just a little bit hesitant with the situation right now. I'm not even going to get into it, but
Hmm.
the whole situation with the whole relationship between the two countries at the moment. So I don't
Yes.
know how successful that would be.
Right.
Um, if you had asked me this like 5 years ago, I probably would have said, yeah, go for it. That's a great idea.
Hmm.
But now I kind of question it. The one place where maybe you could see a team, and this might be a thing, is like down in that Fort Erie.
Oh, yes.
Um, I'm thinking like Fort Erie, and I'm thinking down there like Haldeman, Norfolk area.
Okay. I
Um,
could see that.
it kind of accommodates the whole St. Thomas thing, but a little further south.
Hmm.
Um, Somewhere down there maybe could do a team. It might be too close to Niagara and it might be cutting into London a little bit, but
Yeah.
maybe down in there. Otherwise, Perry Sound.
Perry Sound.
Perry Sound
That's
is
another
an
option.
option.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are just some of the options out there. What are you looking forward to in the playoffs for the OHL?
Oh, it's going to be very, very tight.
Okay.
I think we might see maybe not one, but maybe two sweeps.
Oh.
It might not be per se a third or a fourth or a sixth seed,
Mhm.
but I think if we look at maybe the London Owen Sound series,
Right.
maybe Barrie, maybe upsets Niagara, maybe that it ends up going to maybe five
Ooh.
games, not too sure. But I would say that for the OHL playoffs, we're going to have to really watch out for specifically the Eastern Conference.
Yes, I think you could see a multitude of teams on the top of that. It could be like the Generals, it could be the
Hmm.
Frontenacs, and who knows, maybe the Brantford Bulldogs surprised
Right.
everyone.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I can tell you one thing for sure. I think I know who it won't be in the East. Peterborough Petes. I don't think it'll be
Peterborough.
the Peterborough Petes. Unfortunately, I don't even think they made the
Unfortunately,
playoffs. Let's be real, they didn't make the
they didn't
playoffs,
make the
but
playoff.
you know,
If you just throw them in there,
just
then
it was just a joke
give them one more
comments.
chance.
But you know, those are some of the options that exist.
It's true. And tonight, at the time of this recording, it's the OHL draft lottery where we got the four teams that didn't make the playoffs: Ottawa, Sarnia, Peterborough, and Guelph. And one
Wait,
of
wait,
the
wait, wait, wait. Noah, explain this to me because maybe there's a layman out there who doesn't understand this. You
Mhm,
just said Ottawa, Guelph,
mhm,
Sarnia,
mhm,
and who was the other team you mentioned?
Peterborough.
I had a brain fart. Peterborough.
Yes,
So for any layman out there, two teams from each side don't make it.
that's right. The Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. There you go, people. If you wanted an explanation on that, two teams from each side don't make it.
Yes. It's not like Provincial Junior Hockey League or OJHL
Right.
where everyone makes the
Everyone
playoffs.
makes the playoffs. I mean, there's pros and cons to both systems. I
There
mean,
is.
it's interesting to see the bottom place team take on a top place team,
Mm-hmm.
but on the other hand, some of these bottom place teams can sometimes downgrade the overall play in a playoff series because
They
the
can.
physicality is not there.
Right. And some of these players, not to mention they've also been drafted into the NHL.
That's right.
They're finishing off their junior hockey career at the end of the season.
That's right. That's maybe why that could be a reason why there could be pros and cons.
Mm,
If you're on a bad team and
yes.
you're going to get drafted and you're a good player, you might be like, oh man, I wish we made the playoffs. So on the other hand, your
Mhm.
team might be looking to trade you to get some pieces for the future.
Right.
But on the same token, it's like maybe if you know you're going to get drafted and all this stuff and you don't go into the playoffs,
Mm,
it might be a bad thing for you.
it could be. It very well
Right?
could
If your
be.
team doesn't make the playoffs and you know you're going to get drafted, you don't have that extra, whether it's a week or
Hmm.
in some cases it could be 3 weeks, it could be an extra month and a half to show that um, your skills
That's right.
in a playoff format. And if you ask me more and more, what's becoming important in the National Hockey League is great. you can perform in the season.
Yes.
But it's like there's a second season in the playoffs, and it's a totally different hockey. Can you
Yes.
get it done there?
Yes, that's where it really matters.
Right.
Yes. What is your thoughts on the upcoming OHL, not only the draft lottery, but the priority selection? Because every team is going to have their chance, even when they made the playoffs.
Right. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
So with this whole priority selection thing, I don't know if I like that because in theory, even though the probabilities are low, like a team like London, who
Mhm.
if you ask me is going to win the whole OHL again this year,
Yes.
is could possibly get a really damn good pick, let alone maybe like number one or number two.
Oh, of course.
And I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, on the other hand, I don't agree either with a team getting to pick bottom like five times in a
Mm.
row because we've seen that in the NHL where Edmonton got like four first round picks in 6 years. It was like the number one pick for four times in 6 years.
Hmm.
And I don't think that should happen either.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that the top teams should be even in the consideration. If
Right.
you were to tell me that, okay, maybe the two bottom teams or the three bottom teams from each conference that made the playoffs
Hmm.
get added in
Yes.
based on where they finish in the standings throughout the season, and
That would
then
be a
you
little bit more
exclude some of
fair.
the top, maybe, but I would like to see one of the four teams who didn't make it
Oh, yeah.
get the
Yeah.
top picks, and I would like to think that it will be the Peterborough Petes, but
Hmm.
you never know. They have
You
the best
never know. They
chances,
have the best
but
chances.
it could be anybody's pick, really.
That's true. And who is probably one of the players out of the entire OHL? Who do you think has had the best year and is one of that someone, if they're just tuning into the OHL for the very first time, who is someone that you think would be watch out for this guy?
I just want to start off by not even going there yet.
Hmm.
I think they didn't construct the World Junior roster
Yeah.
correctly. I don't think they did. And now some people say, well, it was because they lost. No, even if they won, I think they left talent
Hmm.
off that roster that should have been on that roster. And I get what they were trying to do, but I don't know. I really don't know if it worked.
Mm.
I mean, the guy that my mind keeps coming to is Kobe Barlow.
Colby
I
Barlow.
my mind keeps coming to him.
Okay.
I just feel like he's a force to be reckoned with, and
Mm.
I feel like watch out
He'll be
because
very dominant for the Jets in the future. Same with
yeah,
Kevin He.
Kevin He, that's right.
Yeah. You have other players like Jet
You do
Luchenko.
have Jet Luchenko as well, yeah, and then you
Yeah.
have a few other players, but I think I'm more curious about some of the guys out west. There is
Mm.
some
Out
good
west.
like in the WHL,
In the
just because
WHL.
yeah,
Okay.
the OHL has some good talent this year, but
Yeah.
it's not. I don't find there's like a guy who's like, oh, this is the superb guy.
Yeah. Like Connor Bedard was.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we'll see. We
Mm.
will see. I
We will
mean,
see.
I gotta say, I think that the OHL should take some lessons from the WHL in the way that they market the like Vancouver
Mhm.
Giants and
Yes.
the Edmonton Oil Kings,
Yes.
or even is it the maybe I'm predating myself, is it Calgary Rebel?
Um. Red Deer Rebel
Red Deer
or
Rebel.
Calgary
Okay.
Hitman.
Calgary Hitmen. That's right.
Okay.
I
Okay.
always get those two mixed up. It's the Calgary Hitmen. Like they obviously are successful in a big city that has NHL and pro
Hmm.
sports. So how do you take that and translate that into like the Brampton Battalion? How do you
Yeah.
make that successful, right?
Right.
Um, that's one thing that I would be interested if they would maybe
Mm.
try and figure out something there. There's a couple of guys in the queue that I've got my
Oh,
eyes on
okay.
too, but we'll see. There's
Okay.
definitely some good goaltending
Definitely.
prospects this year.
There definitely is.
I'd be interested to see how high they go.
Okay.
I come back to it, but goaltending makes a big difference.
It really does.
And it's not prioritized in the NHL. I
Hmm.
mean, it's really not. It
No.
should be more than it is because there are a lot of good teams who have average goaltending at best. There might even be a team not too far from here that has average goaltending at best.
Yes.
They may or may not wear red, no red. What am I thinking? They may or
Maroon,
may not wear white and blue,
white and blue.
white and blue. But who am I to judge? I mean, yes, they have had better goaltending this year than years past, but
Hmm.
you need a stud to be in that net,
Yes, you
and
do.
you have to prioritize goaltending, and it hasn't been prioritized in the NHL.
No.
No. I'll be interested to see, with there being a decent class this year,
Hmm.
do teams put that on their priority list? Like, hey, we need to get goaltending. We're looking for
Okay.
goaltending.
A team that really stands out to me in the NHL is the Los Angeles Kings
Yes.
because not only do they
Yes.
have Quinton Byfield,
Quinton Byfield. That's
you
right.
you have the new and the former Barry Colt, Brant Clark,
Yes, Clark. That's right.
and now you have upcoming Jacob Oster
Oster.
for the
Yes.
Oshawa Generals. So
Right.
if you're the Los Angeles Kings, you got to be quite excited for where you're currently at and what your future holds.
Yes. The one thing I will say about the Los Angeles Kings is they've done a good job of mixing in the old and the new, in the sense
They
that
have.
they have like Kopitar and Doughty and a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of those guys who have been around for a long time.
Yep,
And they've also done a great job of now bringing in the new guys
they
and
have.
meshing it together to actually be like a competitive team.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
have.
we've seen it in other organizations, but they have done a pretty seamless job of really integrating it
They
all
have,
together.
which I really liked.
Yeah, me too. You know what the nice thing about playing in LA is?
Hmm.
It's on the radar, but it's not on the radar.
Yeah.
So if you play in Toronto, everybody talks about the Leafs, and no matter what happens, the Leafs are the story, okay?
Yes.
If you're playing in LA, it's like, that's LA Kings, okay? But it's not like the hockey universe. I mean,
No,
it's a big city and it's on the map,
you got the
but
Dodgers, you got the Lakers.
right, but you don't have the sole focus is not literally on, are the Kings going to make the playoffs? Are
That's
the Kings going to do this? Why aren't the Kings paying this guy billions of dollars? What about the Kings? It's not live or die by the Kings,
no,
unlike here in Toronto, people live and die by the Maple Leafs.
that's right. Who's on your roster? Who's in the affiliate team?
Yeah.